Hello everybody, my name is Amy. Welcome back to my channel. As you know, we are reading my little story that I wrote when I was a teenager called Amelie. It's a very cringy vampire story. And without further ado, here we go with the next part. No, no, she cried within herself. She may have shouted it aloud too, for all she knew. She withdrew, drawing the coffin lid up against her back and buttock, up with her back and buttocks against it. The deadly fingers had begun squeezing at her gut as she doubled over the boy in the coffin, the dying boy in the coffin, his life's blood issuing out through the large gape in his throat. The lid slammed down hard on her shoulders and back, shoving her down farther. I must get out, she thought wildly, as her stomach felt as if it was being tied in knots by some invisible assailant. I must get out! She lashed out at the boy in the coffin. With her hand, she hit him with her fist and scratched him with her claws, screaming, "You filth, you bastard, you tricked me!" and any number of obscene words and phrases. The boy just moaned and tried to speak, for he knew nothing of what she was screaming about. All he knew was that he just wanted the death to come to him by now, so he wouldn't have to witness the raving woman who threw herself about in her attempt to escape. He wished he could let her out. He wished the death would come now. The blood was the first thought Amelie had after finding a way out of that coffin. Something was in that blood. That's why I got sick. That was why. A series of visions played across her mind. She saw herself, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and someone she knew that she should recall. But it was knew that she should recall. Oh gosh darn it, I lost my place again. Oh, but the face seemed covered in mist. Suddenly, the sight was gone, and she was left standing near the tombstone of her great-great-great-grandmother's final resting place, with the moonlight shining down on her. She did not know or understand just what it was in the boy's blood which had made her ill, but she understood it was a large clue to recalling all of her scattered memories. It was the light she needed to guide herself halfway home. Next part. How are you feeling? Melissa Sinclair shrugged her narrow shoulders and gripped the rust-hued wool blanket tighter about herself. She sat, propped up on all sides by wine-colored throw pillows, on the large, overstuffed burgundy sofa in her friend's house, shivering from more than just the chill weather outside. She wondered how she was going to tell him. She wondered more, how he was going to take it. Ooh, wonder who this new character is. I wonder what she did. She looked up at her friend, Douglas Ryder, a carpenter of sorts. So he's not a carpenter, he's just sort of a carpenter. dressed in a faded blue sports coat and matching slacks. Doesn't really have a good sense of style, does he? Well, at least they match, so I guess that, counts for something, right? I should talk. I don't match. Look at this. This does not match my dress. See, this is my dress for today. And my hair doesn't match it. It's not a wish dress. I'm sorry. I was gonna wear a wish dress today, but I decided not to. The next video, I'll wear another wish dress. But my hair is wish hair, so I guess that, counts for something, right? Okay. His thinning blonde hair barely covered the shiny pink flesh of his scalp. He was tall and thin, not in a gawky sort of way. His face wasn't what could be called handsome, but it did have a softness to it, a tenderness that many women found attractive. She speculated on why he'd never married. Now that he was nearly 48, he should have a family to call his own to keep him company. She would have married him, had he ever asked her to. Better, I guess, Melissa said, taking the cup of tea he held out for her. Careful, it's still hot, he warned, and retreated to sit across from her in one of the chairs. Do you think you can tell me what happened now? She looked him over the rim of her small, dainty teacup, and saw concern and fear in his light blue eyes. Old eyes, she thought, sad eyes. She nodded and placed the cup, its contents untouched, on the coffee table near her legs. She curled her legs up under her and took a deep breath. It won't be easy, Doug, she said, and felt her heart contrast. Not at all. It's all right, Lissa, he said, calling her by the name she'd used as a kid, when they used to play baseball together and watch old westerns on TV. Just go slow and start from the beginning. The beginning, huh? She said, running her fingers through her short, dark auburn hair, which was matted to her head from the rain she'd recently come in from. I just don't know how to explain it, Doug. It was just so horrid. I was lost again. Douglas nodded. He was one of the few people around town who knew about Melissa Sinclair, how she sometimes blacked out and stayed out for days, because she was an alcoholic. No, she wasn't. I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a really bad joke. Alrighty, let's continue. Let's pretend I never said that, and we'll continue. Alright. Only Melissa and Douglas, one friend she trusted enough to tell, knew for certain. Most of the time, when she was blacked out, Melissa told Doug that she was floating, weightless, in some kind of dark pit. Melissa said that she felt she was lost, and that the panic would take over in a few moments. I was lost, she said again, only this time I wasn't alone. What did you see? Douglas asked slowly, afraid of what she would reveal. Who? Melissa nodded. She could see the tiny blue veins pulsing about Douglas Ryder's eyes. I saw him again, she said, as a wild shiver rode up her spine and made her damp hair on the top of her head stand on end. He was there, Doug, calling me. He wanted me to go with him, someplace warm, he said. Warm and dry and comforting. Douglas watched Melissa's face as she spoke. A calmness seemed to overtake her China doll-like features. Her eyes glared over, and she appeared her eyes glazed over, and she appeared to be staring through him into the wall behind him. She began to laugh as tears flooded her eyes, as she began to rock herself gently back and forth on the sofa, babbling about warm, safe places. Douglas hurried over to the sofa and sat down beside her. He put his arms about her and pulled her towards his chest. Melissa, stop it, he said firmly, while he held his arms about her. While he held her arms bound at her sides. Can you hear me, Melissa? I say, stop it right now. Well, I don't quite know my speech. Like, people really I don't know what I was thinking with my dialogue. Stop it right now, I say. Who talks like that? Okay. Douglas, she asked, when she'd calmed enough to remember where she was and where she was and who with. Do you know what it means? Do you know? No, because you're a crazy woman. What? He asked. Listen, you're not making any sense. You're in no condition to drive. I'll make up the bed in the guest room for... Do you know? She screamed and jerked away from him. The poison, Dougie, the poison. Don't you even remember? Oh God, he sighed, placing his somewhat heavier head in his hands. Oh God, no, listen, no, that was 14 years ago, for God's sakes. No, you'll not open healed wounds. I won't let you. We put the poison inside of her, she spoke slowly, like an adult to a simple child. We left her alive and injected the poison into her blood. If he hadn't come and killed her, the poison would have, eventually. It was a good trap, good bait. Lissa, Douglas moaned, shaking his head. Stop it. I don't want to hear... And then he came, she continued, as if she were alone with her thoughts. Like a dark angel he was. He saw me. He knew what we had been about and refused the offering we gave. I saw him kill the girl by bashing her head against the side of the building. I saw him smile at me as he did so. I ran then. I did not wonder if he would catch me. I ran until my lungs felt like lead in my chest, and at last I had to stop and puke up my dinner in front of my house. I was never so afraid in all my life. And I was only 10 or 11 then. So what? They were murdering people when she was 10 years old? Oh my God, girl. I think they call that a sociopath. Okay. I know all of this, Lissa, Douglas said softly, glancing at the clock on the wall. You told me this a long time ago. It's getting late. He caught me, Douglas, she said, and the words were like a bucket of ice water thrown upon his head. The ice bucket challenge. No, I'm just kidding. Thrown upon his head. Okay. He stared at her in mute shock. He caught me. The monster we had always fought against, and I could do nothing while I was in his power. The crosses and garlic we've always thought would protect us proved worthless. Lissa, what are you trying to say? Look, she stood up, dropping the blanket on the floor, and unbuttoned her green cotton shirt just enough to slide it off one shoulder. And tell me if I'm crazy. Doug stared at the 2 small puncture wounds near Melissa's collarbone, and shrugged. They look to be fresh, Lissa, he said. Has some animal bitten you? An animal? She asked. Yes, a very dangerous animal. I'm nearly gone, Douglas. I'm halfway between here and there. I only have a little time left. As soon as I drink his blood... Don't. Lissa, Douglas shouted. You can save yourself. Save your soul. It's not too late. All you have to do is find him and end him. Remember, like we had to do back then to those... Remember, like we had to do back then to those other ones? Before they could rise? I'll find him, Douglas, she said. But only when he wants to be found. As for ending him, a creature who's been around as long as he must know all the tricks. She paused then and went on, but I need one favor from you. If we can't destroy him, if I die and come back as, well, as one of them, promise me you'll do what must be done, so that I won't be like that forever. Please. Douglas shook his head and backed away from her. His thoughts all a jumble. She's insane, he thought. She's just lonely. She needs attention. He tried to still his rambling thoughts. What if she's not crazy? No, Lissa, you won't. I won't. No. Promise me, Douglas, she screamed at him. You're the only one I can turn to. The only one. You know it's the only way. Now give me your word. I promise, Lissa, he said, sounding drained, tired. I give you my word to perform the things which must be done, if you should die. Melissa sank back into the sofa and sighed. Thank you, Douglas, she whispered. Thank you. And with that, I believe I will stop this part. And we will continue it on another day. Next Friday, actually, is when we will continue the story. It's getting exciting, don't you think? So now, I will say goodbye, and as always, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, like, leave me a comment, and I will see you guys next Friday. Goodbye!